Cool.
Good evening, Bhante.
Vandami Bante.
Trời thầy, không có công nhận ở nơi đó wedding gì mà wedding không có ai ha. Wow, guys.
So, good evening, everyone. Still got gather. Okay, take a moment. Oh, coming.
Yeah, we should give like 2 minutes for people to come in.
Okay, thank you, Bhante.
Yeah.
For folks that are here, I'll just mention some people were having trouble with the Zoom link that we sent out this morning. The URL is right, and I'm not sure why the link itself isn't working, but if you need to use that email that we sent this morning, just copy and paste the Zoom link into your browser and it should work. I just wanted to let everybody know. Good evening or good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are. We're very happy to have you join us this evening for chanting, a Dharma talk, and a guided meditation from BGR board member Reverend Jean Chuan and Reverend Jean Wei, who are joining us from Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. If I may offer a few words of introduction. Bhikshu Jin Chuan was born in New Jersey and grew up in the Bay Area. He was interested in monastic life from high school and moved to the city of 10,000 Buddhas in 2005. He currently serves as chaplain and assistant professor at Dharma Realm Buddhist University. Bhikshu Jin Wei was born in Poland and began his meditation practice in 1999. In 2013, he came to the city of 10,000 Buddhas to begin his monastic training. He is now involved with developing Redwood Vihara, a forest monastery in Boulder Creek, California. Welcome, Reverend Jin Chuan, Reverend Jin Wei.
Before they start, I just got an email from somebody who said, I'm having trouble logging into the BGR retreat. I keep getting this error message, and the message is, the custom error module does not recognize this error.
Bhante, that's the issue that I was talking about the link not working in the email that we sent this morning.
Yeah.
So anyone can they can copy and paste the URL, or they can use a link from a previous email.
Would it possible maybe send another link to everyone, just in terms of all those who registered?
I try to do it, yes.
Tisha, put in the chat, please. Yeah.
Well, the people who get the chat are already in the Zoom call. So that's not. Copy and paste the URL into their browser.
And Trisha, maybe another option is if they were to type in the Zoom ID and the password, that's also a straight one. So.
Okay, I think you should start. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Well, maybe just to start, I know people are quite patient already with a lot of the technical elements of trying to do an online retreat. Maybe we could just at least kind of come be present here, just taking a moment to kind of breathe, kind of getting into the body. What I found very helpful to kind of have a sense of presence, kind of alert, aware, a relaxed presence is kind of use the breath to sit up straight. And then as you exhale, relax. Maybe just for a minute, people could just kind of find their own inner sense of alignment, kind of a relaxed body, just to kind of bring ourselves together here. And then we will do a little bit of explanation of the chanting that we're going to do, and then chant together. And chanting with a kind of relaxed, upright body makes a huge difference. Okay. Okay, so welcome back. To begin the evening, I just want to say it's really an honor to be here with everyone. Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi, Maya Dhammadipa, and everyone present here tonight. I think it's quite wonderful for us to all begin the new year with these intentions of clarity, compassion, and courage.
Support each other in this sometimes not difficult, easy path, I can say.
Yeah, during these difficult times. And I think it's something that is, oftentimes the new year is the opposite, right? People spend the new year maybe having a party where it's not always clarity is the number one priority.
Sometimes hangover, it's like, oh, I don't remember clearly what happened last night.
Sometimes that kind of non-clarity leads to irritation with the people around us, and we get kind of into a afflicted state. So the compassion kind of goes out the window, or we can enter a kind of apathy, especially now with COVID, what's kind of going around in the world with climate change and so forth. Sometimes it's our own inner state. It's kind of a new word called languishing. This kind of, can't really interact with people because just being with people now seems to be dangerous. Just being by myself all the time is, I don't really want to do with myself. And so there's this kind of apathy, this kind of languishing. But I think courage is quite important. This kind of sense of uplifting strength. This kind of, I can do this. I can face my life. I can face the world. And so for us to come together with these three intentions, I think it's really wonderful. And it's quite an honor to be here with everyone. And so we were trying to think of some chanting that kind of fit those themes. That wasn't too long. So we're going to share that. This is one benefit, however, being on online retreat is it's easy to share your screen. So this. So we definitely welcome people to chant along if you know it. It's a combination of texts from the Theravada tradition, as well as our tradition, which is in the kind of the Mahayana or the Chinese tradition, but we translate everything to English. And it's trying to bring the sense of clarity, compassion, and I would say also kind of courage. So the first one is a dedication of offerings. And we have incense offered on our altar here. But you say, are all of us coming together to practice and learn is an offering. And so here we basically make an offering to the three jewels. Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi talked about that first evening about tapping into the blessings of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And we enter that field of goodness. Somehow our little problems start to melt away and our big problems become small problems. And so in this sense, I think you can see the qualities of the Buddha is the clarity, is the compassion, and our kind of enthusiasm, our kind of devotion to the Buddha, I would say it's a kind of expression of our courage, that we're fully energized, engaged.
It's very close to faith or confidence. Yes, I can do it. I want to do it. My heart is ready to move forward.
And so we thought, starting with that, this kind of sense of invoking the triple gem and making an offering with our hearts. And then in our tradition, we have the Heart of Prajnaparamita Sutra. This is probably the most chanted sutra in the tradition, I think because it's short. It's only a page. And just to unpack a little bit, Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara is the Bodhisattva Guan Shi Ying that Ayatamadeepa talked about this afternoon. She is the embodiment of compassion.
Known as the canon in Japanese tradition.
Yeah, Chenrezig.
Quanten Bodat in Vietnamese.
And I don't know if people know, but she's also associated with Prajnaparamita, which you can see here in the sutra. Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara is connected with the profundity, the profound perfection of wisdom, which I would say is clarity, seeing clearly, wisdom. And I won't go through all of this, but it's maybe on one level, it's the ability to really let go. It's kind of seeing things as empty, is really able to let go of our attachments, let go of ourself, let go of all the ways that we afflict ourselves or afflict other people, and find something very true underneath all of that. And this is where I think you get the kind of fearless quality, courage. It says that when the Bodhisattva practices relying on this Prajnaparamita, this seeing directly, it becomes unimpeded in his or her or their mind. And because there's no impediment, there's no obstruction.
Yeah, all kilesha are melted.
Yeah, they're not afraid. They have courage. So from that clarity, there's courage. And then leaves behind all dream thinking, ultimately nirvana, right? True freedom. I won't go through all of it. And then there's a little final part where there's a mantra. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Gone, gone. I think it's maybe truly gone. Really, truly gone beyond. Letting go, going beyond the beyond. And Bodhi is awakening. And may it be so. So a mantra of really letting go.
With kind of courage.
Yeah,
right?
with kind of this sense of energy.
Courage to let go completely, not hold anything.
And the next one is Maha Prajnaparamita. We do that 3 times. And we'll finish with the 3 refuges. In our tradition, we take the refuges, but then extend the scope of the refuge to include all living beings, wishing that we can all find a true place of refuge and safety. So I invite everyone to join in. And the tune for the Theravada goes up and down. So when you see an arrow going down, the tune goes down a little bit. And when you see an arrow going up, it goes up a little bit. And we'll do both the Pali and the English, because it's kind of a sense of connecting to tradition, chanting in Pali. Okay, so invite everyone to please put your palms together. Yoso Bhagava Araham Samma Sambuddho. To the Blessed One, the Lord who fully attained perfect enlightenment. Svakato yena Bhagavata Dhammo. To the teaching which he expounded so well. Supatipanno yassa bhagavato savaka sangho. And to the Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well. Dhammayam bhagavantam sadammang sasangham. To these the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Imehi sakare yataraham aropite iyabhibhujayama. We render with offerings our rightful homage. Sadhu no bante bhagava suchiram parinibhutopi. It is well for us and the Blessed One, having attained liberation, Pachima Janata Nukamba Manasa, still had compassion for later generations. Ime Sakare Jukata Panakara Bhute Badiganatu. May these simple offerings be accepted. Amakandiratam Vitaya Sukraya. For our long-lasting benefit and for the happiness it gives us. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava. The Lord, the perfectly enlightened and blessed one. Puram Bhagavan Dhammamivademi. I render homage to the Buddha, the blessed one. Bow. Svakato Bhagavata Dhammo. The teaching so completely explained by him. Dhammam namasami. I bow to the Dhamma. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho. The Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well. Sangham namami. I bow to the Sangha. Now to the Heart Sutra. The Heart of Prajnaparamita Sutra. When Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara was practicing the profound Prajnaparamita, he illuminated the 5 skandhas and saw their all empty, and he crossed beyond all suffering and difficulty. Shariputra, form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. Form itself is emptiness. Emptiness itself is form. So to our feeling, cognition, formation, and consciousness, Shariputra, all dharmas are empty of characteristics. They're not produced, not destroyed, not defiled, not pure, and they neither increase nor diminish. Therefore, in emptiness, there is no form, feeling, cognition, formation, or consciousness. No eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, or mind. No sights, sounds, smells, tastes, objects of touch, or dharmas. No feeling of the eyes, including no feel of mind consciousness. And no ignorance or ending of ignorance. Up to including old age and death, or ending of old age and death. There is no suffering, no accumulating, no extinction, and no way, and no understanding and no attaining. Because nothing is attained, the Bodhisattva, through light on Prajnaparamita, is emptying his mind. Because there is no impediment, he is not afraid, and he leaves the story dream thinking far behind. Ultimately, nirvana, All Buddhas of the three periods of time attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi through lines on Prajnaparamita. Therefore know that Prajnaparamita is a great spiritual mantra, a great bright mantra, a supreme mantra, an unequal mantra. It can remove all suffering and is genuine and not false. That is why the mantra of Prajnaparamita was spoken, recited like this. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. And of the heart of Prajnaparamita Sutra. Maha Prajnaparamita. Ma Prajnaparamita. Paramita. And find the three refuges. To the Buddha I return and rely, vowing that all living beings understand the great way profoundly, and bring forth the Bodhi mind. To the Dharma I return and rely, vowing that all living beings deeply enter the Sutra treasury and have wisdom like the sea. To the Sangha I return and rely, vowing that all living beings form together a great assembly, one and all in harmony. Okay. Concludes our brief chanting. Okay, so welcome again. As we were introduced, we were going to give a little bit of a talk on courage to begin, and then having a guided meditation, then having a break, and following that, we're having an exercise on courage. So we're going to come back after the break for our kind of exercise on courage. Kind of be a little bit interactive, and then finally we will have some Q&A. But just to begin, we wanted to actually check in with people. On our retreats at the monastery, we found one exercise that's been very helpful is just to get a sense of where everyone's at. When we have this exercise, we say, just can you please express how you're doing in 3 words?
And you can type in the chat
People
box.
can just type in your chat box, that'd be really appreciated. And this gives us a sense of behind that screen there, we see, faces, or some people might not even have their video on. Get a chance of seeing what's the kind of general mood in people's hearts. People be willing to do that. You can be creative.
Sometimes we do the weather report. You feel very sunny, or maybe with cloudy, or
Yeah. See,
maybe
better
rainy.
than yesterday. That's good, better than
Yeah.
yesterday. I guess things are on the ups. Profoundly grateful here.
calm and grateful.
Calm and grateful. Inspired, calm, wanting to learn.
Drinking peach tea. Definitely sense of warmth and
Yeah. Tired, joyed, engaged.
peaceful, centered, and warmth.
Curious and grateful. See, like under direct messages, it's okay. We have a friend here, missing Berkeley Monastery. He actually teaches here at Berkeley Monastery.
Welcome, Kevin.
Contented, scattering, lazy.
Helpful, but also a bit distracted.
Steady, ready to learn, little overwhelmed. Yeah, a little overwhelmed. Okay, well, I appreciate everyone just typing in. You're welcome to keep going. Peaceful, energized. I am happy.
Amazed, overwhelmed, and inspired.
Okay. Okay, so we'll just give a little bit of sense where people are at. I see there's a lot of kind of well-being in the room, a little bit of being tired, a little bit being overwhelmed.
But we honor what is present in our hearts and expressing the care so that we can type into this collective meta field together and take this journey to the courage.
So, so when we were given this topic on courage, as Bhikkhu Bodhi said, he made it very free, kind of allowing us to define it or interpret it as we wished. And so we thought a little bit, and as often you do is you look on Google and you look for definitions. And oftentimes you see courage as fearless when facing difficulty. Right? There's a sense of fearlessness. And reflecting on that, if it's fearless when facing difficulty, it doesn't quite just be totally there. Because if we're just being fearless, a lot of times we can do things that are actually quite harmful fearlessly. How much of our world has been destroyed because we've been fearless in following greed. I think our climate and our environment have a lot to do with that. Or because we want to control other people or do things our way or no way, we can even be fearless in our anger and in hurting people. Or we can just kind of relish our ignorance. The phrase ignorance is bliss. And just kind of be fearless in saying, I don't want to know about the world or what's going on. I just kind of live in my little bubble and just push everything else out. We have this kind of no fear that's actually going to lead to a lot of suffering, not just for ourselves, but for a lot of other people. What's interesting, in the Buddhist tradition, there's actually a wise and appropriate fear. It's often expressed as hiriyottapa, which is sometimes translated as conscience, or the sense of inner moral integrity. Kind of this, sometimes translated as shame.
Wise shame.
Wise shame, but be a little bit careful with shame, because sometimes shame can mean I'm not good enough or I'm no good. And this kind of integrity is actually saying I have real values, and if I don't live up to my values, I have fear because I'm not living to my values. And there's ottappa, which is sometimes translated as fear of consequences or respect for other people. And it's a sense that when I do something that I know the people I deeply respect would criticize, would say that's not a skillful thing to do. Or I know that there's an action that I take that has harmful consequences, but I override that inner sensitivity, and so, whatever word you use to say, I'm just going to do it, and just ignore that inner compass. So within the Buddhist tradition, I would say courage that's skillful isn't completely fearless in all situations. So perhaps to really redefine this courage, I was thinking of saying maybe courage to live wholeheartedly with integrity. Because courage, the core from Latin means heart. So living wholeheartedly with integrity. And I think what actually makes this courage skillful is what we had before already in this retreat, which is clarity and compassion. That courage without clarity, by just doing something out of blind
Wish for gratification.
gratification, yeah, just doing whatever we think is right, isn't really going to lead to a good consequence. And doing something with no compassion, but maybe a sense of anger or, kind of self-righteousness, also often leads to more hurt and pain. And so when courage is guided by clarity, guided by compassion, I think it allows us to kind of go in the right direction. And at a certain level, clarity and compassion without courage, you say perhaps, depending on how you want to define clarity and compassion, but can actually lead to just not doing anything. I think hearing the stories of Bhikkhu Bodhi saying when he started Buddhist Global Relief, it was a little bit, I would say, very courageous. That just sitting on the cushion wasn't enough. That there's a lot of pain and suffering in the world, and we need to respond.
Take action.
We need to respond. We need to engage what's actually going on, and that takes courage. So that courage is kind of propels us forward from this clarity, from this compassion, into our everyday lives, every moment. And I'll say this: every moment is right here, right now, in this retreat. Right? We were coming here, and you can have a kind of clarity. I'm here to learn, a kind of compassion. I want to learn how to work through my suffering. But I'll say that courage is the enthusiasm, is the energy, is the vigor you bring to this moment, that we don't just kind of tune out. Oh, whatever. It's like, I'm going to live my life wholeheartedly, fully, with integrity, and just really cherishing every moment. And I think this is a real important, because somebody in the morning mentioned about the current state in the world is a bit overwhelming when we really think about it. Oh my goodness, there's climate change. Bhikkhu Bodhi mentioned how there's the kind of electoral system is being manipulated, about the COVID and the pandemic. Maybe just even ourselves. Sometimes our minds just overwhelm us, and it feels like, and I just can't do this. This is too much. And I think courage is really kind of an antidote to that. To say, you know what? At least right here, right now, I can apply my full effort. And it's basically moment to moment applying our full heart into our lives that transforms ourselves and transforms the world. It's when we start to kind of project out into the future, wanting things to be a certain way, being dissatisfied how things are, that we start to despair and we give up and we lose courage. We kind of get stuck in this kind of apathy, languishing, and so forth. So I just wanted to share that I think courage is really important to complete clarity and compassion. When we were discussing it, we actually realized, I don't know if Bhikkhu Bodhi had this consciously, because he said he picked these three because he looked for the word C, clarity, compassion, and courage. But I thought it's actually maybe a shorthand for the Eightfold Path, because like clarity was right view, right view, seeing things clearly, and right view is often defined as the Four Noble Truths. So, seeing that they're suffering, and seeing that the cause of it's coming from this deep lacking that leads to this craving, in many ways that causes suffering, and that there's a way out. There's a solution, nibbana, cessation of suffering, and then there's the path out of suffering, the Eightfold Path. So that's right view, seeing the world as suffering and a road out of suffering, well-being, a road to happiness. And what does right view create? Right intention. We start to align ourselves with that way of seeing the world. So we have a heart of compassion. We want to heal. We don't want to continue to suffer. We don't want the people around us to continue to suffer. And then what propels this rest of this process is courage. So from right intention, you go to right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. So the courage is what then we carry into our lives, into the world. But I was thinking of a story to kind of illustrate this. And the first one that came to mind, talking about courage, was one I think people are quite familiar with if you study Buddhist tradition. But I think with this lens of clarity, compassion, and courage might give a different perspective, which is the story of Angulimala. I know people know Angulimala. His name, Anguli, means finger, and mala means necklace. So finger necklace, necklace of fingers. What does that mean? Well, he at one point got some very bad instruction from his teacher. I won't go into the backstory, but at one point, his teacher told him, "What I want from you is 1,000 fingers." And Angulimala thought to himself, okay, that's what you want. I'm going to go kill 1,000 people and take their fingers and string them around my neck and bring it back to my teacher. So that's how he got his name, Angulimala. And so I think you could say he was somebody who had a lot of courage. He was fearless, going out and killing all these people.
Can you imagine?
Can you imagine that? I mean, that's not easy, just going out and facing people. And but was there clarity? No.
Was clear about his mission.
Yeah, clear about his mission, but sadly the mission was not skillful. And was there compassion? No, when he killed the people, there was no compassion. Actually, it was interesting. I saw in Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation of a footnote in the commentary that says that when he killed all those people, killed 999 people, it said he didn't have a thought of compassion for those people. So when he killed them, he didn't think about the suffering he was causing them. He wasn't thinking of the pain of the families that he created when he killed those people. He didn't think of the pain in his own heart. As the heart hardens and gets kind of more and more stubborn and kind of tight, he wasn't aware of any of that. He just wanted to, he was just, you could say, quote unquote, courageous in a fearless way, meeting the difficulty of killing people, but not skillful. Not skillful. So what happens in this story? So 999 people get killed. He's on his 1,000th person, right? Now he's going to finish his mission. As I've heard the story is, at this point, his mom finds out about, the killer in the forest. And she thinks to herself, I think it might be my son. Let me go talk some sense into him. Just imagine that you're the mom coming, wanting to care for her son, the heart of compassion, wanting to give some clarity. And so she comes, and Angulimala is so confused that he would even kill his mom. So fearless, he wouldn't even hesitate to kill his mom. So the Buddha, with his, you could say, wisdom, sees the situation, as Ayya Dhammadipa shared this afternoon about how he would look out around the world and look who could be taught. He saw Angulimala was at a point he could be taught. And if he killed his mom, that'd be tremendous bad karma. So the Buddha comes to Angulimala. And so Angulimala sees the Buddha and says, here's my 1,000th person I'm going to kill and finish my mission. So he starts to chase the Buddha. Again, talk about fearless, right? He's going to kill the Buddha. I mean, that's not normal people. So he's chasing the Buddha. And the Buddha, it said, he's just walking very calmly, very slowly. But somehow with his spiritual abilities, he's just keeping himself ahead of Angulimala. Angulimala is just chasing him at full sprint. And Angulimala is a strong guy. He's trained himself athletically to run after people. And he's running after the Buddha. He's got his weapons ready. He can't catch the Buddha. To a certain point, he just runs out of breath. And he says, stop. At this point, the Buddha turns around and looks at Angulimala and says, I've stopped. How about you? And Angulimala is just thinking to himself, what? I've been able to chase down, the fastest people, no problem. Who is this person? And there's this moment of recognition. Wow, this is a kind of a spiritual practitioner, a monk, maybe the Buddha, somebody who has deep clarity. Says, people like this do not speak things casually. There's truth here. We're talking about clarity. So Angulimala at that moment is looking for clarity. And the Buddha says, so he asked the Buddha, what do you mean? I've been chasing after you and you've been staying ahead the whole time. You haven't stopped. So the Buddha looks at him and says, I've stopped harming living beings. But how about you? How about you? And that just puts Angulimala dead in his tracks.
Puzzle him completely.
And actually, I think that moment, if you were to kind of reflect on what that might be like for Angulimala, that place of compassion in his heart opens up. You realize the harm that he's created, all the people he's killed. And there he asked the Buddha, can I go forth? Can I cultivate under you? Can I practice under you? And the Buddha says, okay, you can practice, as a monk. And so Angulimala then becomes a monk. And I would say Angulimala has courage, you could say. In the beginning, he didn't have courage based on clarity and compassion. He had courage based on confusion and harming. And so then he changes and he becomes a monk. And he's cultivating, and he gets, harshly treated by many people because he's killed their loved one. And the Buddha says, be patient. But at one point, which is a very interesting moment, kind of unexpected, he passes a home where a mother is giving birth and having very difficult time giving birth. And he thinks, wow, there's so much suffering. There's so much suffering in this world. And he wants to help her. So this person who before had not been able to hear the screams of the people he's killed with his own hands, hears the screams of a woman giving birth and feels pain in his heart, the trembling of the heart, as we talked about this afternoon, with the heart of compassion. And so he goes to the Buddha and asks, what can I do? What can I do? And the Buddha gives Angulimala an interesting kind of a statement. He says, Angulimala, you can say this. Since I have been born, I have not intentionally harmed a living being. By the power of this truth, may your child be born smoothly. I think about that. Angulimala has killed 999 people, right, in cold blood. And Buddha tells him, since I've been born, I have not intentionally harmed a single living being. By the power of this truth, may your child be born smoothly. And so Angulimala is a little bit confused. He says, what? Venerable, I've harmed many people with my life. I've harmed many people with my life. And the Buddha says, okay, Angulimala, if you want, you can say it like this. Since I've taken the noble birth, I have not intentionally harmed a living being. By the power of this truth, it's about clarity. When we're really clear, there's a power behind it. May your child be delivered smoothly. And I think Angulimala realized, whoa. So the Buddha is clearer than even his own understanding of what clarity meant at that moment. Because for him, clarity was kind of, in a kind of conventional way, being honest, truthful with his kind of conditioned being. But you could see the Buddha was going much deeper. He was actually helping Angulimala see the deeper potential in himself, realize actually your true potential, your true nature is harmless. So since you've taken the noble birth, so he goes, right? And he says this to the woman who's pregnant, giving birth, and she has birth smoothly. And this saying has become kind of a saying I hear, and when women are giving birth and having a difficult time, that they would actually chant it. But I think it's an interesting story because it shows this kind of process of courage and how without clarity and without compassion, it's not really that beneficial. But when you're clear and compassionate, and then you add that courage, which is that active, I'm going to do something about it, something really transforms. Maybe I'll just say one more part of the story, because there's kind of many steps to it. I just want to give the highlights. So Angulimala gets really beaten up. He's going off on alms round, and people throw rocks at him, and beat him. He comes out bloody. His alms bowl is broken. His robes are all torn. And he comes to the Buddha, and the Buddha says, "Just bear it. This is the result of your past karma. And if you, in the past, you would have to bear it by suffering the hells for a long time, but now you're burning through it. Just bear it." And that's what he does. But what's really even more powerful, actually, let's see if I actually have the sutta, is he actually says at the very end of the sutta that he wishes well of all those who he's hurt, that are actually hurting him. Let me just real quick here. Since the internet allows for this, I want a copy of it. So he says at the end here, which I found very beautiful, he says, "Let my enemies hear discourse on the Dhamma. Let them be devoted to the Buddha's teachings. Let my enemies wait on those good people who lead others to accept the Dhamma. Let my enemies give ear from time to time and hear the Dhamma of those who preach forbearance, of those who speak as well in praise of kindness or compassion, and let them follow up that Dhamma with kind deeds. For surely then they would not wish to harm me, nor would they think of harming other beings. So those who would protect all, frail or strong, let them attain the all-surpassing peace." So what I find so amazing in that story is Angulimala, with that kind of courage, takes it all the way. And even when being beaten, he actually wishes well for those who hurt him, saying, if you really had opportunity to learn the Dharma, and you would learn the life of harmlessness, then you will be able to find real peace, real happiness. So I offer that just as a kind of reflection on how important courage is, but also how important that courage needs to be guided by clarity and compassion. And as we were discussing with Jing Weisher, Jing Weisher also has kind of a story from his own life, I think he was going to share.
It's a move from the Asian teaching of the Buddha to maybe something recent, which happened actually in my life. 2 months ago, I found myself that my courage was really tested. I have to type to the kind of inner resources to find some clarity and kind of direction, and find the trust and kind of going with compassion. So I got a phone call from Poland, the country I came from, that my grandma is a critical state. And the doctor says, I have a chance to talk to the doctor. If you're considering to buy the ticket, now it's time to buy the ticket. And say, well, okay. And as a side note, the grandma is something very deeply important in my life. She was alive now. My mother left me when I was at age 10. So my grandma was kind of essential for my well-being for my entire life. And so I found myself, sitting in the seat in the airlines KLM, flying to Warsaw, and came to my home city. And I got a message from the doctor: you can see your grandma, but we make an exception, but you can be only 15 minutes in the hospital. Says, well, and maybe this is something that I earned from my Buddhist robe. You cannot see very often in the Poland Buddhist monks walking around. I don't know what's happened, but at least this conditions allows me to have the last meeting with my grandma
She was in the COVID hospital.
in the COVID hospital.
So it was kind of very protected.
Right. And I remember myself standing next to the hospital building, a little bit anxious, kind of trying to calm down, kind of find the clarity in my mind, kind of thinking, kind of collecting my thoughts. What do I say? I have 15 minutes. This is the last meeting. And intensely, I chant Namo Guanshin Bodhisattva, Namo Guanshin Pusa. What is the Bodhisattva great compassion? Madipa mentioned in the compassion part. Wani, give me courage, give me courage. Now it's time, I need the courage, I need the clarity. I want to have a compassion in my heart. And went to the hospital, go to the special room, change my clothes, wear this kind of special, protective suit, face shield, and double gloves. The whole procedure took me like 20 minutes to wear all of these gears. I guess, well, okay, I can take a deep breath, relaxed, connect to my body, and I was one nurse took me to the COVID unit. Couldn't open the door, got loudly, open the door. I remember. And after maybe a minute, I was standing still reciting Namo Guanshin Pusa, Namo Guanshin Pusa. The door was open. And I entered a little bit different world. I looked like astronaut, and I was like, space ship. Everything is very sterilized, extremely quiet, extremely quiet. I can imagine all those people who are there around. Far away, I see some maybe doctors or nurses wear the same gear that I have. And the nurse says to me, she's in this room number 2nd. Okay, so thank you. Remember, we have 15 minutes. Okay, thank you, appreciate. Came to the room and saw my grandma's lying down next to the window, and next to her the 2 maids, 2 women. One had a respirator, both unconscious. So I intuitively know that I have to be more quiet and respect their presence. And says, "Hi, Grandma." Immediately she recognized me. Even she can look up. She's seeing only my eyes, kind of small hole. It's completely covered. No bhikshu robes. I feel a little bit vulnerable, without my bhikkhu appearance. I was very happy. At the same time, I can feel, all the suffering that she experienced. It was quite tired, difficult to breathe. And it was very simple exchange between us. Somehow I tried to find and ground again myself in the body, relaxed. And first what I say, Grandma, don't worry about us. We're fine. And don't worry about anything. You can let go. Have a moment of pause. Grandma, now it's time to pray. Pray. And she put palms together, kind of says yes, but it's a kind of gesture, almost bowing, kind of respecting that the spiritual presence is now important here. Kind of invoke all this spiritual presence. And I ask her, are you ready? She put palms together. Again, same gesture. And I mentioned to her, Grandma, I'm with you. I will pray. Stand back a bit and quietly recite the compassion mantra and different mantras, and one in Bodhisattva's name. Maintain the silence for a moment, kind of put palms together and left the room. It was my last encounter with my grandma. And the next day, call the doctor. I said, oh yeah, I was seeing today your grandma, and I asked her, do you know who came to you yesterday, who visited you? Of course I know, my grandson. He came and we prayed. This is how she remembered our last encounter. And a few days later, I flew back to California. It was a very short kind of commission, like I think 7 days I was out in the monastery. And she passed away just when I returned. She passed away, and I was reflecting where is courage here, and I don't say I was courageous. I try to say I came to these deep resources, mainly maintain the sense of care for her. Stay centered, not be overwhelmed by emotions of grief. I'm here to you. I receive so much from you, right? I'm here to hold the space and be present and be connected. So this is quite, it still is in my heart. So I kind of speaking from the heart. It's still in the process of adapting. And I say, facing this situation, what's probably some of you also experience or recently experience or will be experiencing, right? Because we all brothers and sisters in sickness, old and age, right? And
old
death.
age, sickness, and death.
All sickness, age, and death.
Brothers and sisters in old age, sickness, and death.
and
welcome to the family.
Welcome to the family. And we need courage to face those
definitely
moments.
Need courage.
And we need community. We need a good community of people who care. And we also care for others as well. And together we can produce this kind of strength, this kind of unmoving, almost resolve. I can do it. I can do it. I can meet even the most darkness places and can remain my integrity.
Yeah,
I
keep
can
my integrity.
And be courageous. And not just for ourselves, but also for others. And it's, I think this, in many ways, our gathering here today and the whole retreat is reminding us about it, that we have deep resources. And it's good to remember about that and nourishing this.
Okay. So I realize actually it's almost 5, and I'm guessing people might might have to be compassionate and try to give you a little time to stretch their legs. So we were going to do some meditation. Maybe we'll do that after people get back. And then we'll have a little exercise on courage and then have Q&A. Would that be all right in terms of the scheduling?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so maybe we get a 5-minute break and people are welcome to come back. Well, welcome back. Maybe another 45 seconds for 5 minutes. It's amazing how we're gathering from all over the world. People in the break, they go into their own little place and they come back into the little box. A lot of comments about how people felt very moved by Jingleshi's story. Yeah, when we were talking about courage, we were talking actually, I thought Jingleshi's story was a lot about courage. But there's so many different elements of it, right? One's finding his own courage inside, but another one's tapping into, say, spiritual presence with one in Bodhisattva, who actually, if people don't know, she's also considered one who bestows courage, who gives fearlessness, and then also providing support for his grandmother,
Yeah.
who's actually Catholic, so supporting her spiritual aspirations.
And it's very, if you can make a easy link between Virgin Mary and the Guanyin, if you wish. It's definitely, I can make it very easy.
Yeah.
And it's another, the amazing, the lesson, what I mentioned, what I received from her, how with courage you can face these last moments of your life and accepting what is, you cannot avoid certain things. And it's, and kind of how gently, gracefully she faced this. It was kind of amazing, just amazing.
Okay, so I think people are pretty much back. So just to go into our next portion of our program, we're going to do a little bit of a meditation. I'm trying to tap into clarity, compassion, and courage. Maybe I'll just get a little bit of overview first. I'll say the clarity is really trying to stay with our meditation topic, bringing that kind of presence and clarity in our mind, in our hearts, in our bodies. And so that's one level. The compassion is this heart of caring. And I'll say the really key is unconditional caring. And when it's unconditional, then it prevents the heart from moving into feeling overwhelmed or feeling really sad. Because what happens is, they say the near enemy of compassion is sadness or feeling overwhelmed, because we have expectations. We need things to be a different way. So rather than just having that pure heart of unconditional care, the unconditional care has a little hook in it, a little expectation in it. And because of that little expectation, that's kind of like the little bit of poison in the medicine that actually hurts us. And so, so in this practice, having that unconditional heart of care. And I'll say the courage, so it's got to look a little bit creative here, but the courage is that kind of energy, that vigor of really cherishing our life. That actually we don't know, this moment could be our last moment, right? This could be our last breath. And the courage is to really treat every moment of our lives that way. And I think with Jingleshi's stories, how you say, it's a difficult time, but because I had a chance to be with Jingleshi for quite a few years, it wasn't just all of a sudden he had the ability to kind of have the presence of mind to do something he deeply cared about, and had a lot of other conditions he had to deal with too, having gone all the way back to Poland, as there's what, maybe like, maybe 3% Buddhist there, if anything, in a whole Catholic country, and with his family and all these things, but having the presence of mind and clarity to stick, and that was, you could say, courageously moment to moment happening before, that could manifest in a moment like that. So our current moment of practice will be brought for sure into our moment of death and facing other difficult situations. So that's why I just wanted to start out with the meditations, just to bring that kind of intentionality to the practice. Okay, so I invite everyone to maybe find a comfortable position. If you're sitting on a chair, please place both feet flat on the floor. If you're sitting on the ground, or if you're able, you can cross your legs. And to begin, we'll bring our awareness to our body. So we can sit up straight, having our spine upright, but not rigid. You can imagine a string pulling our head up, a string pulling our head up. Our body just dangles down, completely relaxed. Find helpful just to use a few breaths so we're going to find that inner alignment. Switch each in-breath. So I'm going to bring my spine upright. And maybe lengthening the spine just to get a sense of length and awareness. Then on the exhale, relax. Let go. So we begin our meditation. I find it we have to make sure that the body is relaxed. This helps with clarity. Also helps with compassion. Now say it also taps into a deeper courage that doesn't come from tension, come from kind of deep inner sense of well-being and peace. So it begins with the body. See if you can bring your awareness to your face. Just relax any tension you find in your face. Maybe starting with the forehead. Letting go of any wrinkles. Down to our eyes. Be gently closed. Down to our cheeks. Make sure our jaws relax. And breathing into our nose. It's a natural breath. We're not controlling the breath, just letting the body naturally breathe, however it wishes to do so. And bring our awareness to our shoulders. We roll our shoulders back. And kind of release any tension we might have in our shoulders, especially from sitting in front of the computer. And then relax our left shoulder. You can imagine our left arm heavy, like there's a weight on our left elbow. And as it lets our left shoulder relax. And muscles lengthen, unwind. We do the same thing for our right shoulder. Imagine our right arm heavy. And there's a weight on our right elbow. Just letting our right shoulder relax. muscles lengthen and widen. Letting go of any tension. And as we inhale, so we can make sure our spine is upright. This inner sense of alignment and integrity. And on the exhale, we bring our awareness to our stomach, relaxing any muscles in our stomach, our abdomen. And now just for a few minutes, you just scan the body. And see if you can relax any tension you find. Whether it's in your shoulders, just bringing your kind of carrying awareness to your shoulders. Just gently say relax, relax, relax. Let the muscle gently unwind, relax. Wherever you find that in your body, spend a few minutes taking care of ourselves. Next, see if we can tune in to the heart of loving kindness. In my experience, this heart of loving kindness is the foundation for compassion. So in this heart of unconditional care, which is loving kindness, meets suffering, it becomes compassion. When it meets happiness, it's joyful. And when it's just looking on calmly, is equanimity. This loving kindness, this unconditional care for our own well-being and the well-being of all living beings. You could say the ground. There's many ways to tune into this heart of loving kindness. If you already have a way you do it, please use that method. I'm just going to just give some standard phrases that I found helpful for myself. So I'll repeat them, and the key is that you're not just saying the words as a kind of mindless exercise or a heartless exercise. You actually really mean it. You really mean it. So first is, may I be filled with loving kindness. And you say, may I be filled with a heart of unconditional care. Just imagine yourself being filled with this care. Sometimes I find it helpful to imagine somebody who cares about me. Like my mother, Virgin Weisher's grandmother, or a teacher, or a friend. Or Mother Earth. Like one in Bodhisattva. Just imagine this care filling us up. May I be filled with loving kindness. So then just have it permeate our whole body, perhaps coming from our heart. Kind of gentle warmth. A gentle care. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well in state of physically and mentally, in body and mind, the mind heart. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. So free of agitation, free of worry, free of tension in our body, heart, and mind. Peaceful and at ease. Just tuning into that intention, caring for ourselves. May I be happy. This happiness is unconditional. Because this wish for our happiness is unconditional. We don't have to earn this happiness. We don't have to earn this care for ourselves. Simply because we suffer, we deserve compassion. If we have to earn it by the way we look, by the amount of money we have, our status, then by definition, that care is conditioned. We want this boundless heart of care, of wishing ourselves well, wishing ourselves happiness, that we really flourish. May I be happy. And a final wish, may I have the inner resources to meet the difficulties in my life. And perhaps may I have the courage to meet the difficulties in my life, guided by clarity and compassion. So we really can be sincere in our wish for ourselves, wishing that we have the inner resources the courage, the strength to meet whatever happens in our life with clarity and compassion. So may I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. May I have the inner resources and courage to meet the difficulties in my life with clarity and compassion. So maybe just sit with that for a few minutes. The first exercise, we really cared for our bodies. So now we're really caring for our heart, our whole being. Next, see if you can expand this care for everyone here on this call, in this retreat. So imagine all of us sitting together, and just wishing all of us here, may we all be filled with loving kindness. So all of a sudden in our heart, in our mind, it expands, includes everyone here, as well as we have this panoramic awareness that somehow everyone here is also including us in their hearts. So may we be filled with loving kindness. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. May we all have the inner resources and courage to meet the difficulties of life with clarity and compassion. Expand this out even more. We reflect on our own lives. We imagine for everyone here, each of us is connected, interconnected to infinite beings. Our parents, our grandparents, our ancestors going back millions, perhaps billions, if not countless eons. And even just sustaining our lives now, how much of the universe goes into sustaining and caring for us, this planet that we're on. So all of us here, an infinite web of relations. So just maybe bring this reflection on kindness and compassion, this infinite web. May all of us be filled with loving kindness. May all of us be well. May all of us be peaceful and at ease. May all of us be happy. May all of us have the inner resources and courage to meet the difficulties of life with clarity and compassion. Maybe just a minute of silence. So you can just rest in that heart of care. You can just let your heart expand as you wish. No need to force it. Just seeing how expansive it can be. This courageous heart of ours. Really meeting its full potential. Okay, so welcome back. So we traveled the universe and back. And so we have maybe about 30 minutes, or actually about maybe 20 minutes together. And so we had one exercise and then Q&A. If people have questions, you can type in the chat box or raise your hand. Our exercise is actually very simple. It's asking for all of us to reflect, what inner resources do you have when you face difficulty? Where do you go for courage?
Where you go for courage?
Where do you go for courage when you have difficulties in your life? What are your strategies, you could say?
Immediate response.
Some wrote
Dhamma.
Dhamma.
Gita says Dhamma. Definitely. It's the
Definitely, there's that. A place of refuge for sure.
and courage.
So people reflect a little bit, and please put in your chat box. We'd be happy to have people share what they have.
And kind of expand the reservoir of tools,
Yeah.
courage tools for ourselves.
You want to read this here?
Which one?
Here.
Faith in something greater than a small sense of self.
Yeah, that's a very good tool. We'll talk about this in our next talk, which is Guan Shi Yin Bodhisattva. But in our tradition, Guan Shi Yin Bodhisattva is definitely the go-to Bodhisattva when you're in trouble. Whenever there's a problem going on, Guan Shi Yin Bodhisattva is the first one you call.
Please. She always received the phone call
She's
somehow.
very busy Bodhisattva for sure. Next one person, Sati. Mindfulness.
Mindfulness.
Yeah.
Remember
Being present. Yeah.
about the courage. Meditation and Dhamma.
I tell myself I've been through worse than this and survived.
Right.
Encouraging ourselves. Well, encourage actually has the courage in it, right? Encourage.
It means I'm strong. I can handle it.
I can handle this. Yeah. Faith. Yeah.
Yeah.
Faith in ourselves, and we can do it. Faith in the triple jewel, that we're in this field of blessings.
the people in my Sangha. Yeah,
Good friends,
Kalyana Mitra is the wonderful resource of courage.
noble friends. And sometimes just a good friend can open our heart. I find courage from the person struggling with addiction to drugs and alcohol who I work with each day. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Those people are showing the real courage
yeah,
to live according with values and kind of honest to their commitment. Definitely, I also inspired, deeply inspired by people who choose to live with clarity. Right?
yeah. Making that shift.
And make a compassion to themselves and everyone around.
Angulimala was actually another point of courage that we didn't quite point at, which is his willingness actually to face himself.
Right.
That's not easy, and change for the better.
And very sobering.
That's very sobering.
The
triple gem. Next one.
Respiration and pray Guanyin and Shakyamuni Buddha to help with clarity and courage.
Another one says, "This too shall pass."
Oh yeah,
impermanence.
Yeah, I can take it, right? Mindful speech and the body, since what calls for courage is usual interacting with reactionary others from me. Stay grounded. Wow, definitely. Especially connected to the body and relax.
We've really found the mindfulness of the body is super key for being able to respond with courage, clarity, and compassion. The body is tense. Oftentimes we go off on reaction. Somebody says, let go of fear. That's definitely a method.
I call to the Bodhisattva, Avalokiteshvara, or ask her to awaken her quality of compassion within myself.
Yeah, pulling on the Guanyin within me. Recollect my teacher's teachings, faces or images in my heart. Sorry, I don't know how to send this to the public. Appreciating what I already have.
Gratitude is a wonderful source of courage.
Counting my blessings and becoming present to the abundance of goodness in the present moment. Oh, wonderful. Okay, so maybe those are just some reflections from everyone. What we were really hoping from this was for people to really see that every moment of our life is precious and that we can live it with clarity, compassion, and courage. And that courage is what gives it an extra oomph.
Yeah.
Right? Clarity and compassion, okay, that's really good. But that courage is when we say, I'm really going to do it. Full heart, right? The heart. Wholeheartedly, I'm going to live my life with integrity for clarity and compassion.
And trust that we have all resources to meet all difficulties that arise in our life. In this pandemic year, we don't know what's going to happen next. Having a triple gem and spiritual community, we can relax, I can say, and have a strength, stay present, and move forward.
Okay, so maybe we have questions. If people would like to raise your hands and ask it directly, or if you would like to write it down, you can do that too.
Yeah.
Okay, Chitta Suba, would you like to say it yourself? Might have to get some other voices here. If not, we can also read it. I can read it out loud for the person. This person asks, I've often thought how important courage is in understanding suffering, but I've wondered that it doesn't seem to be among the many lists of the Buddha in the Pali Canon, at least those I know of. I'm not familiar with the Mahayana texts. Is it considered part of some other quality, like determination or faith? So that is why it isn't mentioned. What is the Pali word for courage? Yeah, Venerable devotee. I don't know if there's a Pali word for courage. Abhaya. I know Abhaya is fearless.
There are actually 4 qualities of the Buddha. I think you might be familiar with them too. In Pali, it's called Vesa Rajya.
Sante, your mic is not in your.
Yeah, there you go. Your mic. Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually a set of 4 qualities that are ascribed to the Buddha, which are special, unique qualities of a fully enlightened one. They're called in Pali Vesarajya, which is from Visarada, which means in a sense, absence of fear. Sometimes they're called the 4 kinds of fearlessness. And this one is that nobody could say to him that there are some dharmas, some phenomena that he has not fully realized through his enlightenment. So he's confident that nobody could accuse him of absence of knowledge with regard to certain principles or dhammas. The second is nobody could criticize him on the grounds that saying that though you claim to be fully liberated from all defilements, but there are still some defilements present within you. Then the third is, I guess, a little complex. When he declares something to be an obstacle to one's progress, nobody could come out and say, what you call an obstacle is not really an obstacle for one who engages in that. And then the fourth confidence is that nobody could say to him that the path that you teach will not lead one who practices it to complete liberation from suffering. Yeah, but there are many instances, there are examples in the Pali Canon and the commentaries where the Buddha is confronted with a particular danger. Like when a mad elephant was released with the intention of killing the Buddha, and the Buddha, all of the other monks walk away, and the Buddha just remains walking down the road himself. And then when the elephant gets close to the Buddha, it comes within the ambience, the radiance of his loving kindness, and then the elephant just bows down to him.
So, okay. I think the other, just maybe to add to that particular question, we did spend some time looking at our text, especially the wholesome list, list of wholesome dharmas. And it's true, we didn't find a specific wholesome dharma called courage, but we felt it was actually a combination of many wholesome dharmas. Sometimes vigor, in the Chinese tradition, say yongmeng qingjing, which is kind of courageous vigor. So there's a sense of like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to retreat. That's kind of got a courageous part to it. And faith, when you do something with courage, you actually have some faith that this is really worth doing.
Sometimes placing the faith is in the Buddha's teaching, the Buddha and ourselves. This is quite important to have the faith in ourselves. We're able to move forward and meet difficulties and maintain the Dharma practice. So that a lot of courage take, right, to sustain on the path day by day, be true to our commitments.
And maybe just a last reflection here is, I think the Buddha, when he was teaching in India, 2,500 years ago, he was tapping into the virtues of that society and trying to teach them to, you could say, become liberated. So clearly in the Western civilization, courage, starting with Aristotle and Plato and all throughout the generations, courage is a very important virtue in the West. The question is not to say let's ignore that. It's actually, let's look at these this deep cultural heritage and find what's really precious in it. And the Dhamma gives us this kind of clarity, gives us clarity. Looking at it, okay, so courage when it's like this could actually lead to suffering. Well, like this, it leads to liberation. I think Beth has a question.
Can you unmute yourself?
Unmute yourself. Can you unmute?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay, good. I just want to tell a story. I live in Cambodia, and we used to have Maha Prajnaparamita, who was the embodiment of loving kindness. And when the Cambodian refugees came back at the end of the Khmer Rouge period, many of them came back on a peace walk, which Maha continued to hold for years and years, and then someone took over when he couldn't. On the third of those peace walks, the walk was attacked by the Khmer Rouge.
Wow.
And everybody ran away except Maha, who just sat there beaming loving kindness. And the woman who took over from him later, this was her first walk, and she didn't know this is Maha Ghosananda. She just saw this monk there, and she said, "Oh, Lokta, you can't do that. You've got to come away." And he just stayed present. And he stayed filled with loving kindness. And that held the space. And it transformed the space. In terms of courage, I think what people use here would be aditan, determination.
That could be another one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
For myself, as a source of courage, it seems useful as much as possible to just let go of selfing and the ego and allow things to work through me as they need to. And of course, I find that enormously difficult. But the little tiny bits that I manage seem to be useful. So thank everybody.
Great.
Thank you.
Appreciate your sharing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see some other questions. The person asked about is how do I minimize fears and worries in daily life? Well, I can't quite answer it, I would say, directly in the sense I'm not sure exactly what fear and worry. I'll say generally what I found really helped is when Jing Wei-shi was talking about how when he met his grandmother, what did he do? He first relaxed the body. It's amazing what that does. Right. It's amazing. It's just how much we realize that we forget. And when we get afraid or we're worried, our whole nervous system and body tenses up. And then our mind goes crazy. So just bringing that attention to the body and just relax, 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 relax. And as the body relaxes, somehow the mind calms down. And often calming down the body is easier than calming down the mind. The mind moves so fast. As you try to work with it, it just comes up with more problems and more fears and just proliferates. It's just going back to the body, that felt sense as what you started with. Just saying, okay, I'm here, relax. I'm here, relax. And so that kind of really gives a kind of inner stability, I find, in terms of a method. The next method, actually what Beth did was just sharing, is actually loving kindness. So that heart of really caring for ourselves and those around us unconditionally. This is a training of the heart. And it's interesting, we're just not taught this in society. We were taught that love is kind of, it has a lot of strings attached. I love you, and that means you have to do X, Y, and Z.
If not,
then the other side of love becomes hatred.
A lot of poetry and songs.
Yeah, a lot of poets. Yeah, heartbreak, and I'll do anything for you. My whole life is yours. That's not like the unconditional level of loving kindness. May you be well. May you be free of suffering. I don't possess you. You don't possess me. But I'm here to support you unconditionally. That's whoa, that's loving kindness. And so training our heart to abide in that kind of wish all the time, what I find is it dissolves fear and worry. It's not so much that we have to find a solution for our fears, or solution for our worries, but the loving kindness just dissolves them. Sometimes you do have to address them. So I don't know the exact fear and worry, but the general relaxed body with loving kindness is pretty good first aid, heart aid.
And it's extremely, actually I practice quite a lot of it, talking about loving kindness, that because we sometimes, because of our circumstances, where we grew up, or could be outside conditions, internal conditions, we kind of started reacting with fear in kind of normal basis, on a daily basis. The fear becomes so predominant emotions in our lives and hearts.
Yeah.
And with loving kindness, and what I want to say, we can be kind of creative around this. That how does it feel when I feel safe? Without worry. can I remember the moments when someone cared about me? I mentioned my grandma. Actually, she's I call them meta trigger. Bringing her presence, can kind of smile and unconditional care. It's kind of, I know how that does it feel. I feel safe. I feel grounded, and I can expand this. So I know that some people use the mantra gentle. I can repeat gentle and meet this fear with gentleness. I don't have to run away from this, from distractions and so forth. I don't have to fight with that, try to blame someone or myself. Again, I feel fear and so forth. You know, I don't have to hide, right? Go kind of to sleepiness and kind of, you know, just numb and so forth. But I can process it with this care, a kind of contemplation of safety and remembering and nourishing, kind of reminding and relaxation, kind of this is constant reminder. When we relax, we feel safe usually, right?
So maybe last question, just given the time. Let me ask, in facing critical illness and death, what should be the right attitude in facing this situation? Should we try to fight the battle or just accept and let go? Very good question. And a very, what do you say? A question we all will face. I think in terms of religions, Buddhism is probably one of the most direct in its discussion about, you know, we're all going to die. And what does that mean for our life? So how do we face that? And so the first, maybe just looking at your question was about the fight it. I think in the West, that's usually how we kind of approach death. Somehow death is wrong, and we have to fight it to like the bitter end. It's just not right. But in the Dhamma, why is there death? You know, it's not because there's accidents. There's not because there's, you know, things happen. It's the direct cause is birth. We get born, so we die. That's the natural cycle of things. There's birth and there's death. Birth and there's death. That's called the cycle of samsara. And so we don't have to fight it. The Buddha didn't go to look for a solution by fighting birth and death. He went to understand birth and death very deeply, to transcend it. And so when that time comes for us, so first, if I don't know how much you'll say is maybe you kind of believe in this whole process of rebirth and things, but I find it helpful as a kind of a framework, because in the West we usually kind of put on blinders and say, okay, we just don't know, so we're just gonna, you know, basically protect this life, try to keep us alive almost at all costs.
Hopefully that will be me.
Well, and so first then, in that perspective, death is a transition. So rather than see death as something to fight, it's to say, how can I make death a peaceful and perhaps even liberating transition? I think that's a very different way of looking at it. So for instance, Jing Wei Shu, when he sees his grandma, he's not going and says, Grandma, don't die. Don't die. You need to stay here. You know, we all care about you. Grandma, we love you. Please stay. And that his way of showing care, because oftentimes our way of showing care is, I really love you. Please stay. Because that shows I really care about you. But what it does is that actually tightens the bonds of attachment. And when times really comes to die, the reality is the body has to go and we can't hold on. And so that every place we cling there creates more suffering. So the attitude, if we have a bigger picture, is how do we help somebody pass away peacefully, comfortably, and perhaps even support them in their liberation? And so if that's our pole star, then I think there's a lot of things that we would do. Perhaps it is not their time to go. We need to, you know, give them medicine, give them the best care, and help them live a healthy and good life. But it really comes down to that time. Then I think you were sharing that story. is to say, Grandma, everything's okay. I'm here to support you physically, emotionally, spiritually. And, are you ready? Are you ready? And I didn't say the story, but actually Jingwei Shi afterwards came to me one day in the monastery and said, I had a dream of my grandma. It was maybe about a month later. And I had a dream, I was at her funeral. And I was at her funeral looking at her gravesite.
Gravesite.
And then he turned around and there was his grandma looking at her.
I feel very young. It looks very
You
young.
look very young. And she said to him, but I'm very happy.
Like, don't worry. I'm very happy.
Don't worry about me. I'm very happy.
Okay.
Okay. Well, who knows what that means? In our tradition, we do talk about that our relatives can communicate with us through our dreams and things. But at least for which I could see the happiness when he told me that story. It felt like my grandma's in a good place. Okay, maybe we'll finish and maybe a word from our sponsor. We have Jewish Global Relief.
Yes.
Thank you for this guidance. It's been wonderful practicing with all of you today. I want to thank Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi, Aya Dhammadippa, and the Reverends Jinchuan and Jinwei for so generously sharing these profound teachings with us to benefit Buddhist global relief. Earlier today, we heard a little bit about a few of the more than 50 BGR projects that are supported by your generosity, have been supported by your generosity over the past year. These include projects that feed hungry children in Haiti and Mongolia. They support girls' education in Bangladesh and Cambodia. They provide vocational training to widows and single mothers in Cameroon and India, and help families attain food security through sustainable agriculture projects in Peru, Kenya, and right here in the US. These and the many other projects supported by BGR all share as their aim a response to the immense suffering of chronic hunger and poverty that affects countless people throughout the world. So if, like me, you've felt inspired this weekend to put your compassion into action, please consider making a donation to BGR via our website. Your gifts to BGR today will allow us to continue supporting these and other projects into the future. So thank you for your generosity in supporting Buddhist Global Relief and those whom we serve. We couldn't do this work without you. To conclude this evening, Reverend Jinchuan and Reverend Jinwei will share the merits for our activities today. So please join us tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. Pacific for the final day of Buddhist Global Relief's Meeting the New Year retreat. Thank you so much.
We'll finish with our dedication of merit. There's definitely a chance to put compassion in action. So we can share the goodness of being together for an afternoon or an evening or a morning. Or a whole day, yeah. Okay. So this works from the heart. So it works from clarity, compassion, and courage. May every living being, our mind as one and radiant with love, and fruits of peace, with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. These people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in unity. May our find the way to great compassion, wisdom, and joy. May kind find reward. May all who sorrow cease their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless life. Because our hearts are one, this world of faith enters into paradise. May all become compassionate one. May all become compassionate one. Now, to the triple.
Sadhu.
Sadhu.
Sadhu. Sadhu. Sadhu.
Okay, so wish everyone well.
Yeah.
We'll begin again at what? Tomorrow, at least Pacific time, 7 a.m. Hope to see you there. Otherwise, could you wish you a good evening or
Good
a good
rest.
rest of the day, depending on where you are in the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Velbo, for your teaching. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.